All right, first question is from @Zambriel, who asks, seeing as you are a 90s kid, did you play the Timesplitters games? And if so, do you think there should be a reboot of this series? Yes, obviously. I think that's a pretty easy answer. I know a lot of people out there are checked out on reboots, remakes, something like that. But with Timesplitters, I think there's a couple of interesting angles to go into. The light levity of it, the fun of it, the time hopping stuff. I mean, I feel like there's not a lot of just that type of time shenanigan stuff in games these days. But really what I would like to see is a reboot or a revival of the attitude of Timesplitters, the feeling of it, the tone of it, but also the specific fun factor of those games. Playing them as a kid, I had actually never had access to them. I always had friends that had them, and going over and playing at friends' house, playing split screen was so much fun. So yes, I am gonna be one of these guys here being like, oh, they don't make them like they used to. Why don't we have more split screen couch co-op games like that? But I mean specifically fun, simple, low stakes first person shooters. I mean, people still play Quake to this day because it is fun. You jump, you shoot, you have all that type of fun. But like even stuff like on a console side, like a Timesplitters, like a Red Faction, those are the types of fun little couch co-op FPS multiplayer shooter memories I have, and I would like to see kind of come back. Maybe in like a throwback way, sure, but I think there's a modern way of doing that. Keeping things simple, keeping things about the blasting, the shooting, the hopping with your friends, and that's really it. I mean, like, there's no DLC, there's no skins, but there's also just not a lot to do in the game other than that. If the core shooting mechanics and the map designs and stuff and all that is enough fun, I would jump into something like that. I would happily pay 20, 30 bucks for some little downloadable fun multiplayer game with iconic characters where I can hop on the couch and just shoot stuff with my friends, playing as the monkey in Timesplitters, just like stuff like that that gets you excited. If a game can nail that feel, it doesn't necessarily have to be a reboot specifically of Timesplitters, but if somebody can replicate that feel really well, I would want to see that. And if there is something out there and I missed it, let me know. Hey, if you're new here, every month or so, I do Q&A videos where I take questions from you guys in the comments section to talk about stuff I wouldn't talk about in other videos. A game I missed, movie, pop culture, advice, anything really. So drop comments in this comment section down below, and then when I make the next video, I'm gonna take questions from this comment section. Shout out to all of you who do give me questions, whether it's just in the comments, Patreon, YouTube members, all of you, thank you. Gives me stuff to talk about, so let's just jump into the next one. Will Davis 105 asks, is there a genre, scenario, or type of video game that you feel hasn't been tried yet or hasn't been thought of? I personally would love to see a third-person World War II game that's done in the style of Red Dead Redemption 2. Honestly, I'd really like to see a lot of third-person action games with like the style, presentation, budget, and weightiness of something like Rockstar Games did with, GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2. That's easy for sure, but this is a really hard question and one I would probably have to sit and think about way longer, but off the top of my head, two things. The first is a game that takes place in a boring suburb, like an action game. Maybe not like an indie game, but like I'd love to see an action game that takes place in a boring, real, actual suburb. And I'm not saying like The Last of Us, right? The Last of Us, you walk through neighborhoods, houses, and stuff, and it's great and it's beautiful, but it still doesn't feel as mundane and boring as real, regular old suburbs. I know there's a good chance a large portion of you out there, and I mean this as no insult, like you live in somewhere that's pretty boring, pretty mundane. You have a Target, a Walmart, another Target, a Walmart. I live outside of New York City, and while like, yes, I still have like the best like bagels and pizza and stuff like that, there's a lot of it's pretty boring and just like the rest of the country, and I'd like to see a game really replicate that feel. I know it sounds boring or just kind of niche, but like I think a lot of you might get what I'm talking about. The other thing is more just like I would love to see a big budget like adventure game based around one of the classic Universal monsters, like a Frankenstein or a Dracula style game. I mean, really, a Frankenstein game like based on the book would be really cool. There'd be a lot of weird stuff to that, but I don't know. I actually think that there's just like such an interesting idea there to do something like make an adventure game in the style of like an old 1930s monster film. At Ben Corrigan 5915 asks, any chance for a countdown of your favorite before you buy thumbnails? There have been some classic ones over the years. This is an easy answer for me. There's only one, and it's when we started doing, like when we did our first racing game, and we were like, well, what do we do for this? And we just went for car face. Like we just put a car on my head on the thumbnail, and that was it. Before you buy with a car-faced guy. Every time we do a racing game, I look forward to those because I think it's so stupid and so funny. And you'd be surprised that like people see thumbnails like that and they get mad. Like I don't know, like we take too much stuff seriously. Put a dumb car on the reviewer's face. I don't care, man. We gotta lighten up. Nordic Wolf 2939 says, hey Jake, I know you've talked about some TV shows before and movies. Is there any show or movie that you would love to gush about? For me, I'd love to hear your take on Invincible and what your opinion would be if they made a video game for it. I would say that I think I made a video on Invincible Season 1. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. I didn't watch Season 2 yet, so I don't have much there, but I think the style and the idea of it can lend itself really well to a video game because there is a lot of storytelling, and the way the storytelling goes down I think can actually work structurally in a game, but also just the style of action and like the violent nature of it could be refreshing and cool in a video game. But for me, you said if there's anything you'd love for me to gush about right now, I'm gonna stick with TV. I've never really gone on record with The Handmaid's Tale being like one of my favorite shows ever. I know it's not for some people because it's going to be like woke or whatever, but it's just fascinating. The book it was originally based on is fascinating. It's like the most grim television I've ever watched, and I think that's saying something because TV has really pushed things very far, like prestige television, but Handmaid's Tale is just like good pit of your stomach, like not good feeling. And I like watching it, which I don't know what that says about me. Next, Clovis Pi with, Jake, I heard you say on the Friends Per Second podcast to Ken Levine that you are also bad at games. As a 49-year-old gamer dad, I can totally attest to that. I am a gaming enthusiast, but my old fingers can't hang with my gamer brain. I am interested in your insight about loving all the new games, but not being the best at all of them. For me, it's always been like, as much as I play video games, I'm not good at a lot of them. Over time, my entire life, there's only been a few where I've ever really gotten truly good at. And for me now, as like this being my job, a lot of it comes down to like there's not time for me to get incredible at one particular game because I got to check out the next game and see the next thing. I'll always have Tony Hawk. I will always be confident in my Tony Hawk skills. But I don't know, for me, I think at a certain point I hit this like transcendence. I know people get mad at like game journalists. They're bad. They can't play video games. They suck at video games. But for me, I am not trying to impress anyone. I'm trying to have a good time. I'm not saying that like I always play on easy mode. I don't. Personally, I actually believe that like I need to evaluate a game on proper difficulty settings, but I think it's just easy for guys to go at the like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the best. Here's my gameplay of me getting the high score. I am the best. And like, I don't care. I try to balance that with still understanding the concept of difficulty and how it can be rewarding. That's why I still talk about Souls-like games and challenging games, because there is value and I think it is worth discussing. But for me personally, it's not necessarily I want games to be easier all the time. It's more that I'm just not interested in the showmanship of it or like the flex of winning. Tim8876 says, I have to believe that a day in the life of Jake Baldino video would get millions of views. Take us through your day and show us what it's like doing what you do. Here's the thing that and this is like, I guess maybe advice time or something like that. I am boring. And you might be like, no, you're pretty cool. My day-to-day is very boring. You may follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/Jake Baldino. Just always plug in. I don't post a lot of like photos because I'm just sitting in my house. I'm just sitting in my desk playing a game or sending an email. I think for some content creators, there's still that like pressure to like always be posting, always keep like, look at me. But for me, after a while, it felt like it was like you're forcing it because like, dude, sometimes I just got nothing going on. I'm working on some work and I'm focused on my work and I'm not trying to like meme or be weird or anything, you know? I think some people out there have gotten better, like the YouTubers who will like, they'll upload a video like once a year and it'll get 1 billion views and then they just dip out. Like shout out to them. You don't just see them posting and goofing all day on Instagram or Twitter. I think it's a healthier mindset to have. If you do have an interesting life and you are always doing cool stuff, by all means post it. But I think if you don't, Don't force it. Don't fake it. Don't pretend. I try not to. Graham3289 asks, that's a dope shirt. Where do you get them? Now, here's the deal. I've heard you guys for so long. So many of you ask me about where I get all my weird t-shirts that have like old video game references or like weird movies and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do this now. So like get your notebook out. I find a lot of shirt makers and they make fan created stuff, bootleg stuff on Instagram. So I like accounts like Brain Candy, Pentagram Peter Pan, Blood Gulch, Super Yaki, Pizza Eaters, Paradise of Flowers, Death Charger, and then my holy trinity, so to speak, it's Final Boss, Espionage VR, and Youth Energy. Espionage VR is this shirt. Youth Energy is actually that skateboard deck I have back there with Spider-Man on it, the Raimi Spider-Man. I love these guys. I love what they do. I suggest absolutely just searching their names on Instagram and checking them out. They are usually limited release stuff, but all the accounts I mentioned just do really fun, creative stuff in the world of like weird old movie shirts, games, just stuff I love, and I love to rock it, so to speak. DJ Umasaid, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm trying my best, but they ask, hey, you talk about your love of comic books often. Do you ever plan on making comic-focused content? What's on your pull list? So two things, comic-focused content, not really. I think I like keeping some things for me. And pull list, believe it or not, nothing. Right now, I don't read any current ongoing trades or anything like that. I am specifically focused on going back, reading things I never read or stuff I read as a teenager that I kind of like was murky on, or just rereading some of my favorites or diving into specific heroes, arcs, artists, stuff like that. Like, so right now, especially in terms of revisiting things, I've been on an Iron Man kick, going back and reading things that I read a long time ago, like Extremis, Armor Wars, which has been pretty interesting. But also my buddy Andrew got me some cool Jeff Lemire books that I'm looking to catch up on. Definitely underrated there. But yeah, maybe I'll make comic videos sometimes, but I never want to like go all in on it or make a comic channel. Molina Kojima asks, any skateboard memories? I saw my friend get hit by a car. He's okay. I'm glad your friend is okay. For me, man, not much. I never got like incredible at it. For me, I always use it as a mode of transportation. I love getting around on it. It was just a random memory that just popped into my head. I had one of those silly backpacks that had like a strap on the back of the backpack so you could strap your skateboard to it. But like I wasn't a poser. Like I actually used that strap. So there. Anchor Agent 7545 asks, if the new Wolverine game is rated teen, are you still going to be excited for it? Absolutely, yes. And this is like my hot take. I don't want to like, alienate any people, but like, I really don't think like bloodlust for something that a character is capable of should just like automatically be your judgment for jumping into something or looking forward to something. It's on the one hand, it's different if it's like, oh, it's the Punisher, but he doesn't kill. But for somebody like Wolverine, at least for me personally, like I grew up reading Wolverine where he wasn't ripping people's intestines out or chopping people's heads off. And it was cool. It was totally fine. I get it. It is so much fun to have Wolverine be gory. I love newer, gorier Wolverine stuff. I love the X-Men Origins Wolverine games so much. I've been on record about that. But my enjoyment, my love for Wolverine, for Logan, goes beyond his capacity for murder and bloodlust and stuff like that. So while I think it's good to love that interpretation of the character, I think to just die on a hill for that and kind of miss the forest for the trees, like we're getting a Wolverine game regardless. That to me is a win. But I don't know, that's just me. And that's not me defending like a company like trying to play it safe or appeal to more people by toning down violence. Again, it goes back to the Wolverine that has been in popular medium for a while, that has been great, incredible stories told with this character. We got to know this character, in my mind, not always through tons of gore or like him telling every single person to go fuck themselves, Still, Deadpool 3 looks awesome and I love what they're doing there, but yeah. Separately. Anyway, Not Always Billy says, your love for DeLoreans is well known, but I'm curious, do you collect like toy DeLoreans? I have several Hot Wheels of them and I just love looking at DeLoreans. Yeah, I have one on my desk actually, like right here. It was just sitting here. Somebody bought this for me and just left it at my house. Like it's one of the ones you can get at like 7-Eleven with all the toys and stuff like at the convenience store. I also have like a die-cast one. I have the 20th, the 40th anniversary DeLorean one from DeLorean Motor Company. I have a die-cast, not of a time machine one, just a regular one, because I like it better without the time machine stuff on it. I know that's like sacrilege. I love the car more than Back to the Future. But yeah, also the Lego Back to the Future time machine is awesome. That's like one of my favorite Lego sets. I loved putting that thing together. It is so sweet. Philip Fiat 2056, if I'm saying that right, asks, do you think people have become overcritical of games? Suicide Squad did seem super meh, but people acted like it was the worst game of all time. I think it's all a matter of perspective. I think that for a lot of people, it was just the sheer disappointment behind Kill the Justice League, where like, yeah, I even said it too. I didn't think it was the worst game ever made, but when you look at like, it's Rocksteady and like what they did, it is an absolute massive disappointment, and that totally sucked. But I think it's a bigger thing. I think it's more people than ever are discussing video games online. This started out as a small little thing, and it kind of has bubbled up more and more over time. And with that, it's not just like YouTubers or Twitch streamers or game reviewers or anything like that. It's just the general public and online people who have consumed this type of content and played enough games or played as much games as anybody else that also has some of the tools or the vocabulary to talk about this stuff. So with that, it can seem very overwhelming at times because everybody does want to very critically look at a game, really chop it up, really get in the ins and outs, get into the nitty gritty of it because it can be fun. Some people love talking about the Mets, the Yankees, the Knicks, the Patriots, whatever, sports scores, stats, NFL drafts. I don't know any of that, but talking about video games, this is what it is for some people. And sometimes that can feel like a lot, like people are being overly critical and overly invested. That's how I look at it. It helps me sleep at night. But yeah, so take that to the bank if you want, but I do got to run. I want to try and do more of these a month. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But thank you for your questions. Again, if you got any questions for me, throw them down there and I'll take some from the next video or even individual ideas maybe for separate videos. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered a lot today. So thank you guys for being here. Let me know if you hate my answers. But again, hit me with questions. Clicking the like button helps me. Man, I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love over here. So if you get that, thank you. But I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.